On show 423, a Model 3 is hacked, a new version of the Bolt, and Tesla ends servicing. Well, those stories and many more coming up on today's edition of the show. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, in fact, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, your weekend edition, Saturday the 23rd of March. Today, my name is Martyn Lee, and I've been through every EV story I can find and picked out the ones I think you need to know about. This show is brought to you with the help of MyEV.com. They help make this show, and they're busy themselves building the world's first marketplace, all about buying and selling EVs. You think there's a lot on there now? You just wait. More and more being added all the time. And maybe you're in the market to buy, or maybe you're selling. Check out MyEV.com. So I mentioned this at the start of the show. A Model 3 has been hacked, but it's what's called a group of white hat hackers. This is kind of new to me. I'm a bit of a geek, but I'm not super geek into that ton of language and territory. But in other words, these are people who are encouraged to hack cars and computers and systems to do good, to expose those cracks in the code so they can be patched up and fixed. Indeed, Tesla themselves say that if you hack your own car for the benefit of then telling Tesla to say, look, I found this vulnerability, it won't void your warranty. But now a group of hackers have cracked a Tesla Model 3 as part of a competition to do hacking. And Tesla's given them the car for exposing the vulnerability, says Fred at Electric Today. Well, the automaker made the Model 3 available to hackers in order for them to find and exploit vulnerabilities in the vehicle system. The event happened in Vancouver earlier this week, and the team of 2 hackers managed to find an exploit on the very last day of the competition. Amat, Cama and Richard Zhu of team Fluoroacetate targeted the infotainment system on the Model 3. They used a bug in the renderer. I'm saying the words, I have no idea what they mean. But anyway, the renderer was bugged, and it managed to take control of the system. Clearly not good. Tesla so grateful for finding that bug, they gave them the car. I'll put a link in the show notes to Electrek. Well, General Motors will build its next all-electric vehicle at its Orion facility. The announcement was made this morning by the company's chairman and CEO, Mary Barra, at the Michigan factory, the same plant that's making the battery-powered Chevy Bolt, according to Dominic from Motor1.com, the US edition of Motor One. There's many editions around the world. Chances are, if you're listening somewhere in the world, there might be a local language edition of Motor1.com for you. Now, the automaker says the new vehicle will wear the Chevrolet badge and be built on an improved version of the platform that underpins the current Bolt. Though it says more details about the vehicle will be announced closer to its production, it's widely expected to assume the popular shape of a compact crossover. It sits in that segment, so a successor to the Bolt is on the cards, and I'll put a link to Motor1.com in the show notes. Tesla is ending scheduled servicing. How long has this been going in the car industry? I'm not enough of a historian to know when the very first car was sold with a service schedule included. In other words, come back, sir or madam, in this many miles, because it's going to need some more oil. But it's certainly been a fair while, I'm guessing, and for the very first time, now, Tesla are once again turning the automotive industry on its head. One of the perks of owning an EV is that for the most part they require less maintenance than internal combustion counterparts. Tesla's acknowledging the fact with the way it handles the servicing of customer cars, and now instead of adhering to the maintenance schedule, Tesla have just announced a new policy. They're only going to ask customers to bring their cars in for maintenance on an as-needed basis, says Digital Trends Today. And this is one of the things about owning an EV. Yes, there are bits that can go wrong, and yes, you need to check that they are road legal, road worthy. They have bits that move and can go wrong, but largely they're solid state. And, of course, when things do go wrong in an EV, they go wrong quite badly. And so, if you've got a little warranty in place, that's a good idea, because a new traction battery, that's going to hurt the wallet. So, but otherwise, things like brake pads, discs, rotors, as you might call them, very rarely wearing out because of so much regen braking. Well, as for Tesla's change of policy, the internal combustion cars that they're fighting against are all about scheduled maintenance, and you must adhere to them. They need regular oil changes, replacement of tyres, brakes, belts, gasoline, diesel engines have more parts than electric motors, and they're coupled to transmissions. Don't talk to me about transmissions. The last 12 months I had a major headache with an automatic gearbox on a Volkswagen Golf. More stress than you want to know about. It's why... Oh, goodness. I won't get into it. There are many more opportunities for something to go wrong in an ICE car versus an EV. Maintenance is also a major source of revenue for dealers. Now, I did read a thing not so long ago. I don't know how true it was, but it said, and this was an industry publication, so I'm tempted to believe it. It said that the majority of profit now from car dealers is coming from finance on new cars because of the kickback they get from the finance companies, or maybe it's direct finance, and also servicing. The new car market was suffering so much in some parts of the world that cars were being sold near cost just to get you in the ecosystem because they knew they could get you back for servicing. But selling a new car was not a profitable bit of the business. EVs are quite inconvenient when you think about it. For dealers who are surviving on your car's braking after you buy them. And don't get me started on independent local dealers. Servicing. These, I don't know, there must be hundreds of thousands probably in the UK alone, certainly tens of thousands of small, independent, local mechanics. Think of the education that's needed to ensure they stay in work and they're still profitable. Big jobs need doing with the move to EV because, you know, some of those EV batteries that are 400 volts, you touch the wrong bit of those, it's going to give you a bad day. That's all I'm saying. So you need to be upskilled in a whole new set of engineering. And, you know, I don't see that happening on scale. I try and pay a close interest in all of this. So maybe it's happening, maybe it's not. They're very few and far between, though. We spoke to somebody a couple of weeks ago on the Saturday Special podcast from Cleveley Motors here in the UK. They specialise in servicing EVs, but there aren't too many of them. I'll put a link to Digital Trends in the show notes. Oslo, Norway, the capital of EVs. We rave about them on the podcast all the time. The wonderful benefits that you get in Norway of owning an electric car, not only making it more economical to run, but driving in bus lanes and free parking and things like that. Norway's capital, Oslo, is preparing to ensure that all taxis are zero emission by the year 2023. So they're setting up a new wireless charging system for those cabs. It's going to have the first fast charging taxi system in the world that is wireless. Not sure when it'll be fully up and running, says Chris Holt for Engadget. Charging plates are going to be installed at taxi ranks, and they're going to link to receivers that are going to be installed underneath the cabs. The system will charge taxis at 75 kilowatts. Fortum is the Finnish utility working on the project, claims typical hardwired charging is too consuming for cabbies who are stop, go. The system should keep cabs on the road more often. They'll top up their batteries while sitting at the taxi ranks. And so this is I've said before, if you're a long-time listener, I have a weird fascination with wireless charging because every bit of me logically knows it's not an onerous task to get out of your car and plug it in when you get home, when you get to a charger. But I do know that anything that saves you time will work. And the example I always use, so in my last job, before I gave up my job to make podcasts full time, I was working in the centre of London, in Soho, and in a media organisation, and the kind of organisation that has lots of graduates and young 20-somethings working in, and they get Ubers everywhere. And they would call their Uber, and they would stand on the street outside our office and watch black cabs drive past with the light on. They could have hailed a cab, but they would wait for an Uber because in their head, the Uber saves them time. And ultimately, it does. The Uber isn't a taxi service. The Uber is a time-saving service. They're at their desk, they order their car, they go downstairs, it's waiting for them, or it's coming round the corner. They can see on the map. Uber, for them, is making their life easier. And wireless charging makes your life easier. I admit by 0.5%, but anything that makes your life easier you will take. Think about how angry you get when your wireless internet is not quite as fast as you want it to be. Or you go to a hotel or an airport and you're on the Wi-Fi and it's slow. Like the world ends, right? So, yes, we don't need wireless charging, but I am still kind of fascinated with it because I think it's coming and I think people will want it. And I think it's great for taxi drivers because you think about the amount of time they are at taxi ranks, they're pulling over. Like I said, stop, go, stop, go. They don't want to be getting out of their car 20 times an hour to plug it in. You're right. Plugging in is not the end of the world. And that's what people always say to me. The other criticism that I get for bigging up wireless charging is it's too slow. No, it's not. It's 75 kilowatts in this case. That it's too hard. No, it's not. The area that you have to drive over the pad is very large now. That's okay. When it was first released many years ago, yeah, you had to align the car and the charging pad, but that's so yesterday. There's lots of criticisms of the losses. People say, oh my goodness, it must be terribly lossy. No, it's about the same as plugging in. Different, obviously, you know, when you plug in your car, there is some loss in terms of what comes out of the plug socket and what ends up in your battery, for various reasons I won't go into now, but wireless charging is the same. The newest systems, by the way, the newest wireless charging system, more efficient than plugging in. Anyway, like I say, I have a weird fascination with it because when I plug my car in, when I get home, I'm not thinking, oh man, if only there was a better system, because it takes me all of half a second. I'll move on. Let's talk about the most affordable EVs per mile of range. Good. I like this, right? I like any kind of ranking, any listicle, any top 5. The launch of the Model 3, the Standard and the Standard Plus, the battery versions, big news in the past weeks, but the biggest news was perhaps the return of the rear-wheel drive, long-range Tesla Model 3, and it turns out that's actually the most affordable car in terms of price. If you add the price and the destination charge, the price per mile of range. Says Mark Kane at InsideEVs.com today. The second result is the Hyundai Kona. That catches on to a £7,500 tax credit, which of course brings the price down more. If the Model 3, long range, rear-wheel drive, still had that full tax credit, it would be at just $118 per mile if it had the full tax credit available. Slightly higher, but still, it still wins out, still beats the Kona, if you can get hold of a Kona. And there are some for sale, but the prices are being hiked. That's annoying, but it seems to me that my American listeners emailing me saying, yeah, that sucks, but it's normal over here. It's less common here in the UK, which is why I was really surprised that when, I guess it's market forces, isn't it? Home of capitalism and all that. Yay, go America. And I guess that's just normal, right? So, you know, when there's more being made, price will come down. And at the minute, for the next few months, there aren't many Konas around. And so the dealers are jacking the price up, and in some cases, very significantly. But people are paying it. They want to get hold of one, and they've got the cash, so they're paying way more than the recommended price, and certainly way more than the dealer would have bought it from Hyundai for. Let's talk about Honda. The last I heard, the world's biggest engine maker, and it's only because they make a ton of engines for things like lawnmowers and generators and motorbikes. But still, it's a good stat, right? The world's biggest engine maker. And now they are looking to pivot into being a big producer of EVs. But they're going to start with bikes in there as well. 2 new production-ready Honda electric bikes have been given display space at Honda's booth in the Tokyo Motorcycle Show today. Honda has shown off a few electric concept cars lately. It's largely been quiet on its bikes, but now it's got something to say, says Jalopnik. Honda has been partnering with Panasonic on battery swapping technology. Now, this does make sense. It does make sense for cars. Tesla tried it. Didn't really work. They built all these battery swapping stations as well. Nobody used them. So, but with a bike, you know, smaller investment, smaller battery, more portable. Like, I kind of get it. I think that's, you know, it's interesting. Like, your battery runs out, you take it out, new one in, off you go again. The Bentley electric scooter, I say Bentley, but it's not Bentley, it's Bentley electric scooter, showcases that technology. And the other one they're making is called the CR Electric, and that uses an off-the-shelf twin spar frame, an EV motor and transmission, and it's a very convincing race-ready EV bike. I'll put a link to Jalopnik in the show notes. Right, final day to get your answers in for question of the week, set by myev.com. Please answer me this. How would you like to be billed for rapid charging when you're away from home? You can email me hello@evnewsdaily.com. You can leave a comment if you want to on the show notes, on my blog, evnewsdaily.com, on Facebook, on the YouTube, on YouTube, if you want to do that, and on myev.com as well. There are 207 patrons of the show who keep us going. There are 422 previous episodes of this show, if you'd like to download it for free. Oh, by the way, I missed Friday. I very, very rarely miss a day. I think I've missed a handful of days in the last year. But yesterday was a crazy day. Got home so late, like 11:30. I know. I was into something. I'm working on a new project, and I looked at my watch, and it was 4:30, and I thought, I'll make a move soon, and I'll get home, start my weekend. And then looked at my watch again, and it was like 8 o'clock. Oops. Mrs. Lee will not be impressed. So by the time that I was working away from home, that I'd actually driven home, it was 11:30. By the time I got home from that particular adventure that I was doing on Friday, all was good, but I was so shattered yesterday. No chance to make a podcast. I was going to try, but by the time a nice bottle of Malbec had been opened, I'm afraid it was good night. So thank you very much for bearing with me not being a podcast yesterday. If you want to connect on the socials, I'd love to hear from you. Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow for Sunday's show, and remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.